At 1:17 in the morning, my best friend's sister stood in my bedroom doorway, holding a pillow against her chest, and asked the one question I never expected to hear from her. Where am I supposed to sleep? I looked past her toward the dark hallway, then back at her. The guest room? She shook her head. The roof is leaking into it. Then she gave me a nervous little smile. So, beside you works. Before we get into the story, tell me where you're watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments. And if you enjoy stories about secrets, relationships, family drama, and the moments that change everything, subscribe and stay with me. Her name was Claire. She was 27, 3 years younger than me, and for most of my adult life, she had been the little sister of my best friend, Daniel. That meant there were rules. Unspoken ones, but rules all the same. Claire was family. Not my family, exactly. But close enough that crossing a line with her would feel like betraying the person who had stood beside me through almost everything. That night, Daniel had called me around 10. Man, can you do me a favor? He and Claire had been driving back from their parents' house when their car broke down outside town. Daniel had to stay behind and wait for a tow truck because Claire had an early interview the next morning. My apartment was closer, so he asked if I could let her stay the night. Of course, I said. I had no idea the storm would knock out half the neighborhood before midnight. The rain came down so hard that the windows rattled. Then the power flickered twice and died. I helped Claire carry her bag upstairs. You can take the guest room, I told her. She opened the door, looked at the ceiling, and stepped back as a drop of water landed directly on the pillow. We both stared at it. Okay, she whispered. Definitely not sleeping there. I offered her the couch. She tried it. It was terrible. After 10 minutes, she sat up, rubbing her shoulder. I think your couch is designed to punish people. I laughed. It's not that bad. You sleep on it. I don't. Exactly. Eventually, she disappeared down the hallway. I assumed she'd chosen the couch. Then came the knock on my bedroom door. That question. Where am I supposed to sleep? When she said, beside you works, I honestly thought she was joking. Claire. She laughed quietly. I'm kidding. Mostly. Mostly? She looked down at the pillow in her hands. My brother would kill you. Your brother would kill me before I even finished explaining. That made her smile. But then her expression changed. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. She turned to leave. Claire. She stopped. You can take the bed. I'll sleep on the floor. She looked at me as though I'd just suggested something ridiculous. No. The floor is fine. No, it isn't. Then the couch. She sighed. You're impossible. So I've been told. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said quietly, I don't actually want to sleep alone tonight. That sentence changed the atmosphere completely. I didn't ask why. I simply moved to the edge of the bed. You take the bed. I'll sit in the chair. She shook her head. That's not what I meant. I looked at her. She looked embarrassed. I've been trying to tell you something for months. My stomach tightened. Tell me what? She opened her mouth, then stopped. I can't. Why? Because you're Daniel's best friend. That was when I understood. Not everything. But enough. Claire wasn't afraid of me. She was afraid of what telling me the truth would do to her relationship with her brother. I stood up. Claire, if there's something you need to say, say it. She looked at the floor. I've liked you for a long time. The rain hammered against the windows. I didn't know what to say. She continued before I could respond. I know how it sounds. I know the timing is terrible. And I know you probably don't feel the same way. Claire. I've watched you date other women. I've watched you pretend you don't notice me staring at you across the dinner table. And every time I told myself I'd get over it. Her voice cracked. But I didn't. I sat back down. There was something painfully sincere about the way she said it. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. I almost sent you this 3 months ago. She showed me a message she'd written but never sent. It simply said, I need to tell you something before I lose the courage. I looked at her. Why didn't you send it? Because Daniel called you his brother once. She smiled sadly. And I knew if I told you, I might lose both of you. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about a forbidden romance or some impulsive night. She had been carrying this alone. And I had completely missed it. I told her I cared about her, but I wasn't going to make a decision that night, not while emotions were high and Daniel was unaware. She nodded. That's fair. We spent the rest of the night talking. Not romantically. Honestly. She told me about her job, her failed relationship, the pressure she felt from her family, and how scared she was of being seen as the little sister forever. By morning, the storm had passed. Daniel arrived just after 8. He walked through the front door, saw Claire sitting at my kitchen table, and frowned. Everything okay? Claire looked at me. I looked at her. Then she took a breath. Daniel, I need to tell you something. His expression became serious. She told him everything. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he looked at me. You knew? Since last night. And? I told her we weren't going to make any decisions behind your back. Daniel leaned against the counter. I expected anger. Instead, he laughed. Not because it was funny. Because he was overwhelmed. Do you two seriously think I'm 12? Claire blinked. He looked at his sister. You're an adult. Then he looked at me. And you're my best friend. I trust you. He paused. But if you hurt her, I'll never forgive you. I nodded. I wouldn't. Daniel looked between us. Then stop acting like you need my permission to have feelings. 6 months later, Claire and I were sitting at the same kitchen table where she'd confessed everything. This time, Daniel was across from us, complaining that we had apparently become insufferably cute. Claire laughed. I reached for her hand beneath the table. She squeezed mine. And sometimes I think about that stormy night and the question she asked me. Where am I supposed to sleep? The truth is, she wasn't really asking about a bed. She was asking whether there was a place for her in my life. And I'm grateful I didn't answer too quickly. Because some of the most important choices we make aren't about where someone sleeps. They're about whether we're brave enough to let them stay.